Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's webinar, an introduction to Power BI for Microsoft Dynamics GP, presented by myself, Dan Boone, at Enhance Limited. Obviously, there's a lot of places that this presentation can go, and this is a generic overview. First of all, of Power BI, then of how we can use Power BI and what we've done at Enhance to facilitate the acceleration of using Power BI, linking to your GP data, but also then we'll go through some other things such as just how to create basic reports, how you connect to the data, how looking at a couple of views that are preloaded already, you can create reports really, really quickly, using some of the skills that you're probably already using in your organization through Excel and any other management reports, just thinking about how the data is coming together from your different GP tables. And then we'll also, at the end, before we wrap up, have a look at what else Power BI gives, because it isn't just something that you can report on one source of data from. There's a lot of other things you can do with Power BI across your organization to really get and enhance not just your reporting capabilities as finance and managers, but also for your different stakeholders in your organization as well. So, let's get into this. Let's go into what is Power BI. Let's get into the session straight away. It's, for those of you who don't know Power BI, it's visual. So it sort of turns on its head the traditional reporting methods and reporting sorts of techniques that you may be using. So, you always have your finance system, you export that data into somewhere. That might be management reports, it might be Excel. You then have probably a series of pivots and lookups, so you're entering the data manually into your financial statements. And then at the end of that, you're producing your graphs and visuals potentially from that, dependent on your different reporting needs as part of reporting back. Well, what Power BI does is completely turn that on its head. You create your visuals, you create your tables straight away. And that then you can create what you need to have as a final output. You can see what your report recipients are going to see. You can add slices, filters, so you can use these reports that are an overall view to be able to filter down on department or any segment of your chart of accounts or anything like that. But and that's done without having to keep rerunning the data, refiltering the data. You're in one place, it's a slicer, you click on it, it automatically formats the report based on the filters that you put in. But also, the one thing to say, Power BI, especially for the GP section, we're focusing on accounting. You're always able to get that exported, the underlying data into Excel. So if you need to review the underlying data that's making up the numbers in your reports, you can get that data into Excel with a simple one-click export to export data functionality from Power BI. No matter what we do with Microsoft and what we do as Enhance, you can do a number of different things. Accountants, and I come from an accountancy background, I like interrogating data in Excel. It's easy, I'm used to it. It's my go-to place to interrogate lots of line level data, easier than looking at it in other sources. But it turns that traditional way on its head. You build your visuals, you build your reports, and if you need to, then you put the data into Excel after. Power BI connects directly to the data sources. There's no export, import to get it into Power BI. It's live. That means, and part of the power of Power BI is once you've connected to your live data sources, you can schedule, you can refresh the data manually anytime you want with a click of a button, but you can schedule that data to auto refresh. And that could be it could be hourly through a day, it could be an overnight refresh. But what that's doing is showing that because this is potentially something that you're going to be using ongoing, you're going to have different types of reports. An overnight refresh might be the best way. You don't need it live. You might have some reports that you want to be checking all the time throughout the day. It's an immediate reporting tool. But once you've set up that report and you've scheduled it into refresh as per what you want, really then that's self-serve. It's looking after itself. You don't need to go back in, you don't need to do it. At the same time every single day, that report data is going to refresh with live data, with the data as of that time. So it is a really, really powerful, once you've done it, it removes that resource intensiveness from having to create the reports each month from somebody within your teams. It's a cloud-based system, this project. It's part of Microsoft Power Platform, you know, the sort of advanced analytics and advanced things that you can do in an organization. That means it's mobile and tablet compatible. You can see these reports with the latest data refresh schedule, all wherever you are, as long as you've got a connection. So you can access the accessibility of these. I always say it, not that you'd want to if you're on holiday, but if you're on a beach somewhere, you can access your reporting data on things. And you get the same levels of drill down functionality on a mobile as tablet with what I'm going to show you today. So you're not having to be dialing in, you're not having to make sure you've got, you know, a VPN, you're not having to make sure you got your laptop on you at all time. The mobile and tablet compatibility means that these reports are accessible no matter where you are, as long as you've got some level of connection. And it's informative as well. You share reports, and we'll go into the sort of benefits that brings shortly. It says BC there, but it could be GP data, it could be any sort. You know, this is for GP, so you don't need to license your users to have the same level of drill down. You can give them the same line level drill down functionality in Power BI without giving them a GP license. We can create dashboards from it, so you've got your different levels of stakeholders. You're not blinding them with data. You are giving them reports and dashboards to a level that what they need to be able to facilitate their day-to-day running or decision making in your organization. So, you know, the bottom line is very, very key. I will repeat it on a later slide, but what it does is allows organizations to reach all your different levels of reporting stakeholder in your organization, internal, potentially external, have access to the right information at the right level and at the right time for them and for you. So it really is a collaborative tool that really brings together organizations. Self-serve reporting, very informative, and all the sorts of modern sorts of cloud-based functionality that you would expect if you were investing in something in today's world. Whenever I'm doing this, Microsoft always like us to sort of throw these slides in. You know, we are a Microsoft partner, we promote Microsoft products and the portfolio, but this Power BI is a world-leading reporting platform. As you can see here on the left-hand side, we've got the latest Gartner Analytics, the Magic Quadrant. On the right, the latest Forrester Wave that can say. And these are the sorts of organizations that go around and contrast and compare the different reporting and analytical tools out there. And Microsoft is leading in both and continues to invest heavily in functionality, in user adoption, and in the different visuals of what you have available within the product. Even in Microsoft's new financial system, Business Central, there is on the home page of Business Central a portal to Power BI. So they know that all the advanced analytics they are pushing down the Power BI route. And this is something that we sort of adopt through Enhance, and as a Microsoft partner, we've got Power BI reports for GP, for all of the systems that we use, CRM, all that sort of stuff. And we can touch on that sort of functionality at the very end as to what potential Power BI can bring to other elements of your organization as well as GP. And you know, we don't sort of just go with the latest fad of Microsoft. One of the things we do is often, you know, we've got a large customer base. We speak to our customers regularly about sorts of issues that are affecting them, and we get common things back, and especially on reporting. I mean, the reason I joined Enhance years ago was because the reporting, we used GP at the time, the reporting needed to be improved, and I was a sort of master of thousands of lookups in 50 different hidden tabs, pulling in data by SQL into an Excel workbook, look up to get some financial statement. And yeah, that was extremely resource intensive. Enhance employed me to do that and build that at the time as part of a bigger process that they were going through. But we hear these common reporting issues whether, and this isn't sector specific, this is across the pit. You know, we go back to it. Finance are always sort of at the end of the process and having to do these reports from GP. Resource intensive, reliant on employees. It's reactive instead of proactive. So the reports are being done after day jobs at the end of a process. And then sort of, yeah, this touches on something else I'll talk about shortly, but you're doing your day job, you're posting your journals, you're doing your analysis. You're getting to a point where you've got to do your reporting, you're doing your board packs, and then you're starting the whole process again 5 days after. Very resource intensive to manage that. Different systems make reporting difficult, you know, and we have specialists in each section, which also, you know, not overall. You've got different people creating slightly different reports from GP modules. The distribution of it, the reports being emailed out to everyone. Emails are too easy to know, absolutely. And some of the reports that you can generate are difficult to understand because you've got a lot of detail in for non-financial people. And probably the end point is something that we heard quite a lot. No one version of the truth is a big thing. Because you're exporting data, you've got different people doing it from different areas. It is easy, you know, it's easy to delete a couple of lines and don't look right, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so you've got different versions of the truth because you're exporting the information, you're playing around with it, and then you're reporting after it. And it goes back to what I said before, that one of the things is by the time a report is seen, you're starting that process all over again. Budget holders not being able to look at what they spent until a certain day of the month. How then you're already 15 days into the next month. That's half a month's worth of stuff that may be over budget and not controlled. And these are the common sort of statements that we've heard when we talk about reporting, you know, across GP, but across the other things that we sell as well. So Power BI tries to address these, and it mitigates the risk quite well on a lot of things. So the resource intensive element, well, obviously the scheduling and auto refresh, the creating the reports as you would like to see them, and once they've done the self-serve, and the fact that that is live data. You can see your reports building up as transactions are being processed into it. So, you know, for an example of that, we've got customers with high recurring revenues. As transactions are being posted and deferred out, that generally could have been an month-end report. They could be going through, they could be having to play around and work with the data from GP. Because it is linking to GP Live, you can see like that income being input to the level you need it to be deferred out. You can see the gaps so that when you come to it at the last day of the month or when you're closing your month end, your actual basic month end report is there for you then to start looking at. It makes you become really proactive as much as you can be instead of always being reactive. You can load multiple sources into the data model. So you're not just looking, yeah, if I look at GP as a whole, you're not loading just one table into the data model. You can load in every single table in GP, create relationships. But and then, you know, you've got to think about what data you want and how you want to do it. But you create relationships between the tables, which enables more joined up reporting. But we can go further than that in Power BI. So, you know, you might have your chart of accounts not structured to where it needs to be in GP. If you've got a chart of account mapping template in Excel, we can load that into the model, create a relationship between that Excel chart of account mapping and GP chart of accounts, and that allows you to then start building your financial statements in different formats. It's all about the sort of understanding the tables, the information that you need, and how you join the tables to give you that best information in one place. With regards to content and distribution, Power BI, you don't email reports, you share reports. So you grant access for somebody to see that information. You're not sharing the source data with that either. You are just sharing. You can do if you want to, but for most of your recipients, you want them to have visibility of the report, potentially the dashboard. But you don't want them to be able to see all the data in the background that some of it doesn't relate to them to build that report. To share in the report without the source data in it gives the user access to the same level of drill down that you want on the report, but you, like I said at the very start, you don't need to give them access to GP. And because of the way Power BI is and the visual element of it, you can create reports specifically for and tailored at the person receiving that report in the easiest way possible for them to be able to understand how that comes through. I hope I've got it on what I'm going to demo to you in about 10 minutes, but I worked with somebody recently who, well, probably about a year ago now, who one of their budget holders was a keen fisherman, and we were just looking at some visuals in the system. And I thought it was a little bit gimmicky, but we put some, the bigger the fish, the more spend they've got in that cost center area. And for some reason, they love that, and they've engaged with it, and you've still got, even though it's a gimmicky visual, you can still drill down on the source information. It's just engaging with your report recipient as easy as what you want to, and to give them the sort of comfort that what they're seeing, they understand and want to engage with as well, which is always a bonus. And, you know, I'll repeat myself, Power BI connects directly to the sources, data source. It's not a case of somebody exploiting it, potentially manipulating it, and reloading it into Power BI. One of the biggest things that our customers who adopt Power BI need to understand is on day one, when they see the report, it's going to highlight your bad data straight away. You know, your good data you're expecting it to look like, it will highlight your bad data immediately because it just doesn't look right within it. And I've got a couple of examples. As you would imagine, we've got a demo system, and you'll see a couple of examples of bad data causing issues on some of the things shortly. But it does highlight it. And what it does, it sort of drives the right behaviors in an organization, that because the report's connected to the live data source, this isn't something that you can go in and just edit in Excel and then it updates the report. You've got to go to that source data and correct it, which enables, it sort of governs your processes so that the core system is right, GP will be right, which then makes your reporting right. And because everybody else can see that, people might interpret it differently. We can't stop that. And, you know, as long as everybody's seeing the same data, it can be cut up slightly differently, it can be presented differently, but everybody should be seeing the same outcome numbers, the same analysis. It will stop people interpreting it differently, but because it's connected to that live data source, it mitigates that risk of people taking information. And I'm not saying this happens in every organization. I've seen it in some. Download something in Excel, delete a couple of lines, amend a couple of things, republish it out. And there it looks nice when the source data in the financial system isn't reflecting what's in the actual reporting output. So, you know, it does drive the right behavior, and it does mean that everybody, that one version of the truth is across the board. Now, for those who are looking into Power BI, you've probably seen there's a number of different licensing that you've got, and these are the different licenses that we can sort of use and can connect to GP data. You've got Power BI Desktop. That's a free tool. You can go and download that today. And what we do in Power BI Desktop is create the reports. The desktop file is sort of it's on your desktop, as it says. I'm repeating myself, but you create the reports, you connect to the source data, you get where you need to be with reports, or something that you as a personal individual in your organization want to have access to that report. You can't share it. It goes off your connection details. You need your own connection details in there to connect to the source data, but that can be done. And the refresh capabilities are manual, so you won't be able to auto refresh it. You've got to press the button. You've then got the online version, so the free version, which is again an individual. You can publish your reports from your desktop into an online environment. That allows them to be visible on mobile and tablet devices. But again, that's for personal use only. You cannot share these reports with other individuals. We then go to Power BI Pro, and this is, you know, really where it's at for small, medium businesses, charities of a decent size, really. This is where you get the benefits. You can share reports with other users. You can schedule for auto refresh. You can create the dashboard. You can create report subscriptions, which we'll go to shortly. And that's aimed at 0 to 500 users, if you sit on there. And that's your collaboration. You do have Power BI Premium. That's licensed on capacity. That is aimed for a huge organisation, 500 plus users. You can have it refreshing, every sort of 15 minutes in a working day, maybe 10 minutes in a working day. And it caters for data sets with multi-million rows of data quickly as well. But that's on large scale. The Power BI Pro licenses, we've got customers with 6, 7, 8 million rows of data. Refreshing overnight takes about half an hour. And then you come in the next morning and all that data is updated. So, the ones that we concentrate on at Enhance, and we found everybody really fits within this. We create the reports in desktop and we publish via Power BI Pro. The Power BI Pro licensing is, I don't like using the word cheap. It's extremely affordable for commercial organizations. It's very extremely affordable for charities, and it's priced on a per user per month basis on a name license. So, you really do have a lot of functionality there across the piece for your organizations to use Power BI Desktop and Power BI Pro to really get levels of information and information to the right people. I promise you this won't be that bad PowerPoint. We will get off slides shortly, but I do think it's worth, we at Enhance obviously understand GP data. We understand Power BI. We have Power BI trained consultants. We will work with us on, your GP installations. We've got GP consultants all over the shop. But what we try to do, and we will go through how you connect to the data and how it looks and all that, but what we try to do as part of our solutions to our GP customers is really try and accelerate that initial process by building a suite of Power BI based reports linking to GP data called our Power BI for GP reporting pack. It's a number of reports. I think it's about 20 reports, and they're all looking at the core financial modules. So GL, customer data, supplier data. We've got different sorts of data books, easy filtering, a bit easier than SmartList, depending on different sorts of stuff that you can get. We've got actual big budget reports, we've got P&L reporting, all that sort of stuff within the Power BI reporting part that can be plug and play and linked to your GP databases. Obviously, it connects directly to the SQL tables, as we've been saying over the past 20 minutes. But what it also does, if some of our customers have a really nice chart of accounts with user-defined fields showing what elements of the chart of account segment relate to what department and things like that. However, the vast majority don't and have it in Excel. So if you have your chart of account categorizations in Excel, we can see them, we can add them into the model, we can get that reporting straight away and get it into a format that you need for your slice and dice by department, by different cost types and things like that. It focuses on internal and external finance reporting. So we have some internal reports such as a day book set if you want to get, but you've got your P&L, your balance sheets, a lot of different stuff that you've got. Then you get your sort of Power BI stuff. So you've got your interactive filtering, you've got the sharing functionality, you've got your dashboards that can be created when you upload into Power BI Pro. And it interacts with your Office 365 programs, Excel, PowerPoint. You can embed Power BI in Teams channels and things like that if you have your Teams users, just to make that accessibility so much easier. And as I've said, we can refresh the data automatically with a Microsoft Data Gateway and via a Power BI Pro license. Before I get into it, it's very crucial to say what it is a data gateway. So Microsoft Power BI is a cloud-based system. Your GP is on-premise. So what Microsoft have built is this on-premise data gateway, and it provides a sort of controlled and managed gateway that can be installed by anybody. We can install it for you. If you have an IT team, they should be able to install it. There's a full sort of instruction and download options available from Microsoft. But what it does, it provides that level of control governance to say that Microsoft cloud-based reporting platform can go and it says it retrieve the data from an on-premise data source. And what you do is you create this data gateway, you add the SQL table, the SQL source of company to that gateway, and that allows Power BI to schedule in the auto refresh. If you're not looking at the auto refresh and you're having these reports just for you initially by purely the desktop, you do not need a data gateway. The data gateway is only required if you want to then use the accessibility, the sharing function, and the auto schedule functionality. Right, so let's get into the report itself. I'll first of all show you what we've done on our Power BI reporting pack, but then I'll also go through just how easy it is and what sort of things you've got to look at in Power BI to create reports from scratch, really, and access your GP data. So this is our Power BI reporting pack. There's 20 pages, there's 19 actually, and there's one where I'm just highlighting some of the different visuals you can have and how easy it is to cut, slice, and display the data in different ways. But this is an income statement by month. If I look at that and highlight this statement, you can see here there are some fields down here that are linking to GP. These are all coming from GP. So if I look at transform data and the data source settings, this is SQL. I'm connecting to my SQL company, the test company we have for GP. I'm connecting to our company Enhance. You know, you have to connect by different company, but you've got your SQL information in there, you've got your company information, and that allows us to access the GP tables. Within this file as well, I'm also accessing an Excel spreadsheet for my chart of account categories. So that is, I don't have this in GP. I've got an Excel export, an Excel template showing if the chart of account is this, then I want it to be analysed as such. And just to show what that looks like, if I go into my where that spreadsheet is, and I go to my GP chart of account categories, this will open up, and it's just a spreadsheet. Give it a second to load. I could have actually gone into this in Power BI as well. But the spreadsheet will be the account number. And then you've got what it is, revenue, cost of sale. I've got my profit center, and all this really is doing is splitting up your segments. I know what nominal type it is, and I know what reporting level. I've got that just in a spreadsheet that is loaded into this model. And then through this model, and these are your GP tables. I mean, if you've looked at the GP tables before in the naming structure, they're not easy to understand, but we can provide lists. We know where that data is if you don't know where that data is. As long as the data is in GP, you will be able to bring it down from a table into Power BI. But the real skill of Power BI, and this is where our reporting pack comes into its own, we've got the relationships. And the relationships, whether if I just have a look at that relationship, whether it's one way, two way, what fields within the tables look up and create the relationships, so that in this scenario here, if from my Excel spreadsheet, I want to look at our GP, I can click on that and this will filter. So I've now got from my monthly P&L, I can choose a year. And as you can see, as I choose these different years, and years are coming from the account summary lookup view in GP, all these visuals and numbers are updated. And that's purely for GP. If I wanted to look at it purely for our GP consultants, then that now direct costs, we've got the different account categories, and you can drill down to transactional description level if you wanted within here. So you've got that full, from the one report, I can see finance, I can see group costs, I can see everything in here, and all these numbers and all the visuals on here are updated. So if I wanted to look at admin, if I wanted to look at it by life insurance, there you go. If I wanted to look at life insurance across the piece, you've got it. So you do have a lot of slicing and dicing, either based on data from GP. As you can see here, it's reading the account summary tables. We've just got the periods in. This is reading from column 4, and we've just built up a report based on data from the account summary table and that lookup spreadsheet. But then that allows us to think about how we present that data. So technically, this is the same report as the income statement by month. The only difference is, instead of, and if I draw your eyes to here, we've got column 3 from our lookup table, which is the department. If I just go back to income statement by month, the only difference is on here, I've got period ID, and that period ID comes from the account summary table. It's technically the same report with a different column. So, yeah, and this allows us then, we could create a report just purely filtered down by one of these teams. And you can see, and at any point, I can right click on a number, show data pointers table. And that will give me all the detail behind that number to what fields we've got. We've got the different user defined, we've got columns, we've got headers, we've got whatever you need. And as I said before, you know, that's quite a big report. You might want to interrogate that in a nicer system. Drop on the 3 dots and export data, and that puts it into Excel. So, yeah, what we tried to do as part of this reporting part, TB by year. One of the things that the auditors have really come up with now, we start looking at, you know, one code is 100% more than last year and another code's 5% down. Why is this? And this is something that we can slice and dice for our intent. So again, it's just looking at the same information. I'm looking at the account summary table. This is by year, and I've got period ID underneath it. So within this report, I've just got this at a high level. I can drill down to the next level. And now I've got each period by month to give a total. I can filter down by the year. You can really build it up to show what you want. Balance sheet reports, same as what we've seen before. You different categories, different times. We can filter down by any information. And then we've got, you know, we've got levels of EBITDA. We've got all that. Depending on what you want to report, these are what you want. We can do customer reporting. So within our customer page, where are your customers? This is it. And you can see here now, you know, this is where your data comes in. I've got country, I've got us, I've got blank, I've got Belgium spelled differently, I've got different things. This is linking to that source data, so it will only bring back what you want. But what's in the system, sorry. But you've got sales territories, you've got customer numbers. So if I use customer number, I can drill down. It will tell me where that customer is. Now, as long as there is a reference or an address that Microsoft can link to, it will tell me exactly where that is. So if you're using sales territories for your different salespeople, you want to know where they are, and if somebody's got a customer in Aberdeen and a customer in Exeter, and that doesn't make sense, you can look at your sales territories to see where they are, you know. And it will filter down based on where that is. So you've got some really good, and you can sort of have it where these circles are based on how much that company spent with you over 12 months. And you can see where your income's coming in, you can see where your expenditure is. The same report on suppliers as well. Where are your suppliers? We've got supplier turnover reports over. We have data pages. And again, it's just looking at the detail from Business Central, from GP, looking at the detail, bringing the detail back. If the detail is in GP, we can report on it here. Well, I think one of the nice things to show is this is a data report in a table format with, you know, the customer name. It's filtered down on any transactions in the past 6 years. There. This table is the same data on every one of these visuals. So actually, you build a table and then you can go through. So if I click on the table here, you can see, hopefully, you've got this grey box just surrounding table. The fields are there. The same fields are here, but it's in a matrix. The same fields are here, but it's in a tree map. The same fields are here, but it's in a pie chart. And this is the same information presented differently. And there's lots of different visuals. There's aqua, there's fish flying around, there's people walking around, all that. You can do any visuals to engage with the employee. But through all these visuals, you can also add these slices in. So this customer turnover report, if I wanted to look at it by salesperson, if I click on here, that updates AG. Maybe. So you could actually have this report set for a salesperson as somebody linked to that customer so that they can see this on their own. They can see outstanding balances, they can see what invoices are paid, haven't been paid. You're really giving that analysis because we build dashboards for salespeople to see their customer performance. They've got all this down, and you can do that by Power BI. We've got tables, we've got data aging, and this is where your filterings come in. So, on a sales dashboard, I can look at invoices, I can look at any invoices posted in this period of time. I can look at it to a certain customer. And if I really wanted to, I could say, I just want to see what's been posted by Steve. There you go. You've got that audit trail. So going back to that, if you wanted to look at any invoices posted over a period by me, there it is. So you've really got that granularity to drill down and get to that bottom area. We've got VAT reports, we've got budget reports, actual budget variance, we can build that in. You can filter that down by your different departments and all that. The budget is in GP, we can link that in. So you do get a lot of brilliant reporting. If we're creating reports from scratch and you will come into get data, you'd enter literally at the top of your Power BI desktop, and this is all desktop. You put in your server details, your SQL Server, and your company name, the database. And you bring down the tables. And just an example, I brought down these three previously, so we're not watching me click on the button and waiting for the data to load. It took about 10 seconds to bring in these tables. And if I look at the tables, the account transaction table has 342,000 rows in. And it goes back to it, you build your Power BI reports up slowly and thinking logically. So at present, these are three separate tables. So if I, from my chart of account table, bring in account number, and I'm just dragging it and dropping it. So I've now got account number there from the chart of account table. If I wanted to see from my account transaction table the amount of that, I'm just going to get a number. It's a silly number, it's no sense, and it's against every code. That's because there's not a relationship within this system at present that thinks there is a relation. There's not a relationship between the accounts and the account transaction table. So I could go into the account summary. I wanted to look at that for period. I'm just getting absolute gobbledygook. Even no matter if I change it different, so it's I'm just getting, it's saying I can't do it because it's trying to do two things and there's not trying to do three things there, and it just makes no logical sense. So you go into your modeling, and the skill of Power BI isn't dragging and dropping and clicking on different things to see what looks best. The skill of Power BI across GP is understanding the tables where your data is held and the relationships between the tables to give you what reports you want. So in a simple one where I've got the account summary, and the account transaction view, I can go in and create a relationship. And thinking logically, you've got your accounts to your account summary. What's the best field to map and start this on? Well, it's obviously your chart of account field. You've got one chart of account number. Now, within these tables, you've got one chart of account number in one table because that's your chart of account table. But within your account summary, because that's by year and period, you're going to have many in there. Power BI is clever enough to know that's a one-to-many relationship. So I can make that cross-filter direction both, which means I can click on one thing and it will filter data backwards and forwards. Right, okay. So if I have that in, and then I'm thinking, well, I've got transactional detail. So I'm going to create a relationship between my account summary and my account transaction. So now if I click on that and the account number here, Power BI is clever enough to know that's a many-to-many. And you know that that is something that's structured. You know that this data in the account summary view cannot be manipulated. So you're comfortable with it being a many-to-many relationship. Click on OK. Now if I click on close, the system knows, and you've got all the relationships in there now, to be able to say, right, I can actually bring that back. And now I've got a TB in here by periods. You know, all that data's there. But then you think, well, actually, no, what I want is, I want year. And you just build up like an Excel pivot table now. So I want year as column in it. Right, okay, bro. That's all there. I want the account. I want to have a filter on this to show me what the account category is. And I can drag that in away from that table. And I've got my different account categories. If I want to look at accounts payable, accounts receivable, admin expense, capital, this is filtering down. If I want to make that a slicer, I can add that there. And again, you're just playing around and getting this. You've got the relationships now between the tables. So actually, you could do anything you wanted to. Account description. Should we add that in? Yeah, okay. Do we want that? Is it great? No, maybe not. I want to drill down on rows. I've now got the description. I've got the year. If I want to drill down on the columns now, so that I have year and period, I click drill down there, change that, and I've got the periods in before. You've built up the report. It looks sensible. The numbers look sensible. And because of this now, I can actually go down to our account transaction table and put in description. So I want description, I want document, date, and if I just make that document there. So now, if I click on, if I take out, if I just have this back period ID, so that here, I've got all this information. Put that back in this one. So if I drill down on rows, I've got the account detail, account description. Drill down, got the document date, and we can change that to purely be a date at a time. If I drill down again, I've got the description, line level description of what's in there, and and I can go back to it. So even if you think I can put user in posted up here, so I want to see in here what postings I've done that's affected the P&L. That is my posting effect on the P&L, on the TV. By description, by value, by period, a lot of information, all there. Your deferrals, all that's taken care of, it's all there in one place. And you build that up via purely the relationships in the table. To really get the benefit of Power BI, you publish. So you've got the report here, we've got our reporting pack, you have this publish button. And that publishes it once you do that into the online environment. And this is, you go to Office 365. The first thing you'll see once you've published it, you do not get all the fields that make up that report here. So once you've published it, that report is done and it's out there. You still get the same level of drill down. So I can still click on your endpoint to drill up. You've still got all the reports as what we were looking at before. We've got our customer reports. We've got our TBs. You still get that same level of information here. If I want to look at TB by direct costs, there it is. That updates, this updates, all that information. But as a report author, you then share that report, and you can schedule it in for auto refresh. That's that's a process. But you share these reports, so you share them with anybody who's a person of your Office 365 tenant or a sort of guest on your tenant as well. So you can share it with guest users who may be board holders, non-exec directors, volunteers, or anything like that. And there it is. So you just go in and I can choose if I choose me. You know, these are people on our team. And you just share that with them, and that appears in their share with me section. But we can even go further than that. So once you've published it, if I hover over a visual, you see this little pin icon. So if I click on the pin and I pin that to an existing dashboard, a multi-source dashboard, I can go to that dashboard now, and the dashboard is here. It's got CRM. This is a multi-source. We've got CRM data on it, income, revenue by period, P&L, nice little the fish visual based on top 10 customer debtors. Got information here. That report that I've just pinned to that dashboard is here. You can share that dashboard now. So you don't need to share all the reports. You don't need to share every page of the report with some individuals. Some individuals will just want the dashboard, key performance indicators on a dashboard that they can see. Revenue by period. Our CFO gets a cash dashboard. How much cash has been received today, year to date, target, month to date, target, what debtors are overdue with the 90-day debtors are, what salesperson they relate to, all that information on a dashboard, and you share the dashboard with them as well. So it really is about that collaboration. We can even go further than that as well. So you've got this subscribe button here. There are people in your organization who, no matter what you do, they're never going to go into Power BI. You can give them the greatest dashboard in the world, refreshing every second. They're not going to go in, they'll forget to go in. This subscribe button allows you to send to an individual a PDF image of that dashboard at a set time every day. So if I just open that, you can see there, I mean, the system is quite slow at present, but you can see there, you've got, there it is, dashboard on email, sent, scheduled time, weekly, daily, monthly, whenever you want it to be, to that individual so they get a snapshot of performance indicators. It really is that accessibility element of getting the right level of information to the right people at the right time. And across the Power BI platform, desktop, Power BI Pro, the report published, the auto refresh, the dashboard, and the subscription services, that really does give you a lot of tools at your fingertips to be able to ensure as much as possible you are getting that level of detail to the right people. So before I sort of wrap up, I have to stress, we've just shown, you see you can load an Excel spreadsheet, you can see you can connect to any GP data. And if the data is in the system, we can report on it. But it's not just that. So you've got your SQL back GP data. You can put your Dynamics 365 in, your Excel, as you've said. If you're using anything in the Power Platform, Power Apps can go in. Business Central, the new financial systems can go in. ODBC back data can go in. All the skill is, I'm repeating myself on this, and this is where we can come in, we can give guidance. The skill is, it isn't the visual picking, it's the relationships, understanding your data, deciding where the key relationships are between your different data sources and your different tables. And if required, adopting a change in something in one of your systems or one of your fields or one of your tables to ensure there is a common reference that can be used to bring together that 360-degree reporting view that organizations are striving for, all within the one reporting platform. And that's why, you've seen our reporting pack. You do actually, going back to it, you get more than just what sort of visuals you see in the pages, the 2019 pages. The biggest thing that we're finding on our reporting pack is customers are taking it because the relationships are already in the model as part of these tables. There's nothing stopping you saving it as something else, different naming convention, deleting every page that's in there and starting from scratch. And I could have done that today. I could have done it because the reports that we created, looking at just from scratch on the account summary, the account transaction table, could have done that here. But nothing stopping you, and that gives you that accelerated sort of running start on creating Power BI reports. But looking at why we are the partner of choice with regards to Power BI, and with you as your partners, we understand the GP data. The GP data tables, they're not exactly easy naming. You've got to think about what's in what. We know where that data sits in the tables in GP. We can help you through that process and help you understand what tables that's in. We've got our reporting part, as I said before. You've got that with the table relationships in. What we're actually finding and working up this sort of pyramid, B and C are quite sort of intertwined because we've got our enhanced consultants who know GP and know Power BI, and it's as it stresses there, we know if the data is within the reporting model, so if it's in GP, we'll get it into Power BI and we'll be able to report on it. But more and more organisations, as what it says in B, are actually taking our pack first of all, but having call-off day training. So they can say they've got the starter for 10 pack, and we use that, and people are buying chunks of days off us, where a consultant sit with them, create reports together, or our consultant guides you and your team through creating reports and understanding the different sorts of things in Power BI. And that seems to be very, very popular at the moment. And obviously, then what that will allow you to do, and this is where we're not precious about Power BI. It's a Microsoft tool. You can download it, as I said, the desktop for free and start playing around with it at any time. But ideally, we want to put the power in your hands to be able to, with regards to ongoing reporting requirements, you shouldn't need to come to us if you're using the new field in a table, because that will appear in the data model anyway, and you need to add that as a filter. That should be something you can do, drag and drop. But what it will allow you to do is really decide which is the best approach to you going forward. If you want to adopt Power BI, do you create the reports yourself? Do you buy a more chunk of call-off days, or do you engage with us to create the reports for you? One thing I would say, especially as most people who are registered for this Power Finance people, this is an extremely powerful tool to get your head around and understand. And that's why I think as more people sort of look into it and decide as an organisation to adopt it, the call-off days are becoming extremely popular. But going back to it, what we should be able to do at the end of any Power BI sort of session is allowing you guys to understand the report, how it's built, understand how to filter, share, publish, auto reschedule, all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, give you that basic understanding that you could go and feel confident enough to build a report yourself. And if not, that's where you call off days come in, or you just come to us to build that report for you. And that's it. And, I've done sessions. I'm doing a session next week on with elements of Power BI at Microsoft themselves, and you can only show so much within a period. But I hope that's giving you a sort of preview into how Power BI can be used for GP, how easy it is to get to the GP data, and what benefits that will provide for organisations, especially on getting reporting data to different stakeholders without having to give them access to the core, all the data source or all the data in the background. If you do want to see more, please feel free to contact your account manager and myself on the email address there. We've got our website and further resources. And once this session is finished, there will be a sort of survey that comes up. Please complete it, give your honest feedback. All the feedback's taken on really well, and we do listen to any kind. Ask you for any sort of webinars that you want to see in the future as well. So please do fill that in if you do have the time. And that's it. So thank you once again for your time. Really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you very much.